Calculus kids, this is Dr. Callahan with week 11 Tuesday. How are you guys doing? Go ahead and pause the video to answer the following questions for your warm-up log. All right, let's go ahead and create the assignment for today. So we're going to go to MS Teams. And you guys are in Calculus. And we're going to go do a new assignment. And this will be for week 11, Tuesday. Your instructions, make sure you guys watch the video and upload your assignment for the hybrid days. It is due by 3 p.m. and assign. All right, you guys, let's go ahead and go back to your class. Okay, so yesterday we actually talked about the beginning of how to find the curve underneath the graph, or how to find the area of the curve underneath the graph, and that was day 1. So if you did miss it, make sure you guys watch the video for week 11 Monday. And so as I look into this graph right here, I noticed that here it is solved for y, okay? And so if it's already solved for y, then you know the integral is going to be a top minus bottom, which makes sense because the top of this part right here, which is this green part, is at 1 over 2x cubed plus 2. And then the bottom of this part here, the bottom, is this blue line, which is x plus 1. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look at the integral, okay? And given the fact that this right here, the x value is at 2, you know that I have this graph here, and it's just going to give me 2 right there. And then, of course, here is my other part, which I don't know what it is. But the strategy we talked about yesterday is you set the equations equal to each other. Since this is already solved for y, and this is equal to y, well, by transferability, I can just say 1/2 x cubed plus 2 equals x plus 1. So let's go ahead and see if I can rewrite this a little bit and set it equal to each other. So let's see. So looking at this, given the fact that the graph actually starts at 0, you actually don't need to proceed with this. You just could put it right there for 0 because it actually stops right here and then moves on forward to the right. So we're looking at from 0 to positive 2. And remember, it's a top minus the bottom. So then the top part, which is the green part, is 1/2 x cubed plus 2 minus the bottom part, which is the blue part, and that is going to be minus x minus 1. So at this point, I am going to take this and I want to go ahead and rewrite it. So I have the integral from 0 to 2, 1/2 x cubed minus x plus 1. And let's go ahead and evaluate this then. So evaluating this, 3 plus 1 is a 4 divided by 4. So that gives me a 1/8 x the 4th minus 1 plus 1 is a 2 divided by 2, 1/2 x squared plus 1, integral of 1 is just x. I'm going to evaluate that from 0 to 2. 2 is your upper bound, 0 is your lower bound. And remember, it's always upper bound minus lower bound. So when I plug in the upper bound, so that's going to go first, I have 1 over 8, 2 to the 4th. So I know that 2 to the 3rd is 16 times 2, so that's going to give me 32. Minus 1/2, 2 squared, 2 times 2 is going to be a 4 plus 2. So 32 divided by 8 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is a 2 plus 2. This part cancels. So we're going to just left with 4. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in the lower bound right here. So it's going to be a minus. Okay. 0. Well, 0 is just going to be a 0. 0 and a 0. So that's easy enough. So then my answer is just going to give me a 4 unit squared. All right, so then let's take a look at the next part. So this is question number 2, and if you look at this here, you actually have 3 lines. So it's kind of important that you make sure you know which one's which. This blue line right here is going to be y equals x, okay? And then you have this green line right here, which is going to be y equals 2 minus x. And then, of course, you have this line right here, which is just going to be y equals 0. And our goal here is to find the triangle that's in between them. So there are actually 2 different methods you can utilize with this. So the first method number 1, is just going to be the integral. And it is going to be from top minus the bottom. If you look at from the top minus the bottom, the very top right here, the y value is 1. To the bottom, the y value is 0. So it's from 0 to 1. And you will have, let's see, 0 to 1. Let's try that one more time. So with this one, I actually wrote this a little bit incorrect. So I need to look at this from the perspective of x's. So my first method is maybe you're going to have to split this into 2 different triangles. You have a first triangle right here, triangle 1. So the top of this triangle is going to be this line right here, which is an x. So you're going to have x minus the bottom, and the bottom of this graph is at 0, okay, dx. And this is from 0 to 1 on the x-axis. But then what you're going to do is you're going to have to add your second triangle, which is this triangle right here. That's triangle 2. And that's from 1 to 2. So I'm going to add it together. The top part of this triangle has the graph 2 minus x minus the bottom, which is 0, dx. So this actually is your first one. So then as I look at this here, what is the integral of x? Well, that's just going to be 1 over 2x squared. Evaluate that from 0 to 1. Plus, what is the integral of 2? That's going to be a 2x. And what is the integral of negative x? Minus 1 over 2x squared. I'm going to evaluate that from 1 to 2. And again, you have an upper bound and a lower bound. Well, your upper bound here is just going to give you 1/2 minus a lower bound, which is 0. So you don't have to do anything with that. Then let's take a look over here. Your upper bound is a 2. So 2 times 2 is a 4. Okay. And then you're going to have a minus 1/2. 2 times 2 is a 4. Okay. So that's a 1/2 plus 4. And this is going to be 4 divided by 2, which is a 2. So this part is a 2. So 4 minus 2 is actually a 2 right there. Okay. And then minus, I'm going to subtract the lower bound right here. So in this case, you're not going to have zeros like you did with the first part of this. So 2 times 1 is just a 2. And then minus, so looking at this, it'll be a plus then, 1/2. And that's it. So then looking at this part, minus 2 plus 1/2. This part cancels with 1/2 plus 1/2, just 1 unit square. And that is going to be your answer. Now, on the other hand, if you decide not to go ahead and do top minus bottom, you can also do left minus right. But if you do the left minus right, remember this has to be y equals, so you have to solve this in terms of y, which means that you'll have x equals y, so there's no big change there. And here you'll have an x equals 2 minus y. So then when you do the integration of this from left to right, you'll have this from 0 to 1, to right, 0 to 1, and you're looking at it from left your left, which is going to be a 2 minus y, and then minus your right, which is just going to be y, dy. So this part right here is going to be your right, and I should actually rewrite that. Sorry, it's not. It's right minus left. There we go. Because the right part of this is this line right here, and that is y, or x equals 2 minus y. And then the left is right here, which is x. And you can go ahead and evaluate this, but either cases, you should have the same answers. All right, you guys, so from here, what I would like you guys to do is take a look at the breakdown of what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to go over our guided notes. So let's take a look at the very bottom. This is the page that you're going to be talking about with your notes. Here are some additional examples. Make sure you guys take a look at these. And then, of course, you have your textbook review with the videos that accompanies it. All right, so then with that said, let's turn over to our guided notes. And our guided notes starts over here on this page. Right over here. All right, so it's write an integral that can be used to find the area of the shaded region. So if I take a look at this here, I have my area, which is equals to the integral of, you have your first piece right here. Notice that, and it's easy if you could go ahead and separate them. This part right here is g of x, and I'm going to use green for this piece right here. That's f of x. So looking at this, the top part is g of x. So g of x minus the bottom, which is f of x, and that is going to be dx, plus the integral, and this is from a to b. And the next one is going to be from b to c. And if you look at the top, it's f of x minus the bottom, which is g of x dx. And that is number 1. Okay, so for the number 2, you have area, and you know that your y equals 0, which is this piece right here. Your f of x is going to be this piece right there. Okay, so then integral from a to b is going to be the top part, which is 0 minus the bottom, and that's f of x dx, plus the integral of the second half, top part, which is f of x minus the bottom, 0 dx. And this piece is from b to c. All right, then let's go ahead and take a look at number 3. For number 3, you have the left part, which is right here. And this piece is going to be g of y. And then, of course, you have your right piece right here, and that's f of y. All right, so then what you're going to have here is your area is going to equal to the integral from, and if you look at this, notice your integral, because you're going from right minus left, your integral is always going to be on the y-axis because it's solved in terms of y. So it has to be from C to D. So notice that's going up and down instead of horizontally on the x-axis from left to right, okay? And so this is going to be from C to D, right minus left. The right is the green part, which is the g of, or I'm sorry, which is the f of x. There we go, see? Minus the green part, which is the left side, and that's not x, y, Callahan. There we go. And then it's dy. All right, guys, so next one I want you guys to do is take a look at the answers or the questions here. Take a look at the answers. You can pause the video and take a look at that. For number 5, here is what you should have. Take a look at the answers of what it should look like. Number 6, pause the video, give it a try. Here's what your answer should look like. Pause the video. And number 7, which is what it should look like here. So pause the video. And number 8. And lastly, number 9. Number 10. Number 11. Okay, so when you're done with that, what I would like you guys to do is try to practice with your textbook. These are the questions from your textbook, and you actually have the link that showcases your video. So turn over to this page right here. Here's a link that will go over these questions with you. Pause the video and go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and take a look at perhaps one of the questions that we did go over. So let's go back and revisit this question right over here. So for this one, it says you have to go ahead and draw the picture and then figure out what the area is underneath the curve. So looking at this point, let's go ahead and draw this. So here is, oops. So here is my x-axis. So in this situation, y equals 0. It's also given to me that y equals 2x minus x squared. Now, because it is an x squared or negative x squared, you know it's a parabola, but it can be a sideways parabola. So it can look something similar to that. So this is y equals 2x minus x squared. So essentially, you're just finding the area that is going to be between this curve and the x-axis, which is at y equals 0. So because everything is already solved in terms of y, solved for y in terms of x, you're looking at the integral from the top minus bottom. And so let's set this up. My area is going to be an integral from, I need to know the intersection of this so that I know what the a and b will be equal to. So let's set it equal to each other. So y equals 0, so 0 is equal to y equals 2x minus x squared. Factoring out the x, I have an 2 minus x. So x equals 0, and then x equals 2. So 0 and 2. Top minus bottom. The top here is 2x minus x squared minus the integral of the bottom, which is at 0, dx. And so looking at this here, we're going to just go ahead and integrate this. Area is equal to x squared minus 2 plus 1 is a 3, divided by 3, 1/3 x cubed. Evaluate this from 0 to 2. Here's your upper bound. Let's plug that in first. So then I have 2 squared, which is 4, minus 1/3. 2 to the third power is 8, minus, plug in the lower bound of 0, so it's just going to be 0. So then 4 over 1 minus 8 over 3. Find your common denominator. You should have a 4 over 3 unit squared. And that is your answer. All right, similarly, let's take a look at number 5. So for number 5, it's saying the y-axis. So here is the y-axis. For the y-axis, x equals 0. And it's given to you, this is also solved for x in terms of y. And because it is solved in x in terms of y, what that gives you is that you are going to be using the integral from, and your bounds here has to be from the y-axis. Okay, so it can be vertically, and then it can be a right minus left. So just so you guys know that. X equals y squared minus y to the third. This is going to give you kind of a weird shape, like a Z, okay? And then your x value is going to be right, your x equals 0 is right here. So essentially, we're looking at the area right here. So if you have x equals 0, and this blue graph is x equals y squared minus y cubed, we would need to go ahead and find the point at the intersection here. So then let's just do 0 equals y squared minus y cubed. 0 equals factor out the y minus y squared. So then my first y is equal to 0. And actually, let's go and factor out the 2 y's. 1 minus 1. There we go. First y is equal to 0, that is correct, and my second y is equal to 1. So I have the integral from 0 to 1. And then, of course, your area is equal to the right, okay? So on the right side of this, it is going to be this blue graph. So y squared minus y to the third minus the left. Left is this red graph, vertical graph, which is at 0, dy. So it's going to be in terms of 1. All right, so now let's integrate this. So area equals 2 plus 1 equals 3. So 1/3 y to the third. 3 plus 1 equals 4. Minus 1/4 y to the 4. Evaluate that from 0 to 1. Let's plug in the upper bound. Upper bound is going to be 1, so that's just 1/3 minus 1/4 minus, now let's go ahead and plug in your lower bound, 0. So both of these have 0, so it's just going to be 0. Find your common denominator. I'm going to put a 12, which is a 4, 12, which is a 3. If you subtract it, 1/3, or excuse me, 1/12 unit squared is your area. All right, so now let's take a look at number 6. Number 6 is going to be a mixture. Notice how you have x equals y squared and x equals 4. So here is my grid. X equals 4 is pretty easy to draw because you just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's your 1. X equals 4. Now, y squared equals x is the same thing as the square root of x, and remember the square root of x, the parent function of that looks something like that, like a squiggly thing. And you have the other part of this as well because it's a plus or minus. So it's going to start at 0 and it's going to look like a side parabola, like so. So then your area that you're looking for is going to be between right over here. So as I'm looking at this right here, this is more kind of like a right minus left with the pictures and whatnot. So here's your right, which is x equals 4. Here's your left, which is going to be x equals y squared. So because you're doing the right minus left, it has to be solved for x in terms of y. Okay, so it has to be x equals for both. And then in addition to that, your integral is going to be on the y-axis. So it can go up and down, and then I also have to be in terms of dy with the integration. So let's go ahead and take a look at this then. First thing I will need to know is my integral, or with the intersection here. So these 2 points right there. Well, let's just go ahead and set them equal to each other. So y squared equals 4, y equals plus or minus 2, because the square root of that 4 gives me that. So I know that's a positive 2, negative 2. Integral from negative 2, positive 2. So then let's take a look at the right side. The right side is just 4 minus the left. Left is going to be y squared, y. All right, so then integral of 4 is just 4y minus 1/3 y to the third. Evaluate that from 2 or negative 2 to 2. And let's go ahead and plug that in. So here's your upper bound, which is 4 times 2 is 8, minus 2 to the third power is 8, 8 over 3, minus, plugging your lower bound. 4 times into 2 is a negative 8, but that negative moves to the positive 8. And then negative 2 to the third power is an odd negative number. It's an odd power, so that's going to be a negative 8. Negative 8 times 1 over 3 is negative 8 over 3. With that minus is going to be a positive 8 over 3. But because you have that minus here, it's a negative 8 over 3. I know that could be extremely, extremely complicated, I get. Okay, so then you have these two, which is a 16 minus 16 over 3. Make that 3 times it by 3 with the 16. 3 times 16 is the 18, so that's a 48. And then when I subtract this, that's going to be 2. 32 over 3 unit squared is your answer. All right, you guys. Well, we went over the last six examples. So if you guys can continue on with example 7, which I have the answers right here for you, so you're welcome to pause it. And then of course you can go and try number 8, which I know looks a little bit crazy right here. And then of course number 9. And that'll be it. Well, I hope you guys have a wonderful week. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.